This watch gives me hope. Not the watch itself, but people's reaction to this watch. It gives me hope in humanity. See, nearly every time I post a photo of this on Instagram or bring this to a watch meetup or just wear it, people seem to love this thing. And when they learn that it's a discontinued quartz watch, it only really seems to make them more interested, which tells me that there are a lot of people who just love good design. Not everything has to be a Rolex because there are other watch brands. I'm not sure everyone knows that. I get more offers on this watch than any watch I own, and no, it's not for sale. Well, I guess everything's for sale for the right price. Let's start the bidding at
$1 million.
Sorry, that was stupid. But I'll tell you right away that these do come up for sale every once in a while, and the prices, they haven't really increased much, usually between $2,000 and $3,000. That is until this video makes the rounds, and then I expect the price probably to get up to about
$1 million.
Nope, still stupid. But what is this watch anyway, and why do I totally adore it? And why do other people seem to like it so much? This is the Grand Seiko SBGX091. I don't actually know when this reference was first made, and I don't know when it was discontinued, but I know that this one was bought in Japan in 2015 from an authorized dealer. See, this was only available in Japan, or at least it was only made for the Japanese market. That's one of the reasons these are kind of rare. The other reason is that it seems like it was only produced for a few years. If you have the exact years, provide some evidence in the comments. I'm pretty curious. There was also a black dial version of this watch, the SBGX093, that had the same short life. And that's a real bummer because these are pretty cool. 38.5 millimeters wide, 10.8 millimeters thick, and 46.5 millimeters long. It has 19 millimeter lugs, which isn't great, but it also has drilled lugs, which is great. 100 meters of water resistance, and it weighs about 147 grams on this bracelet, which makes it surprisingly heavy for a quartz watch. And I think one of the reasons it's heavy has to do with something written on the dial. This is an anti-magnetic watch. Now, some of you might be confused. I know I am, all day, every day confused. But specifically, we might be confused about why this watch is marketed as anti-magnetic when it's a quartz watch. See, mechanical watches can be heavily affected by magnetism. If a mechanical watch is exposed to a strong magnet, even for a short time, its timekeeping can be skewed for a long time. It can run too fast or too slow until it's demagnetized. Quartz watches are much less susceptible to magnets, but quartz watches do have ferrous metallic components and circuits that can still be affected by magnets. That's especially true when they're still in the presence of a strong magnet, like in some scientific labs, or when I'm in an MRI and doctors are looking for the part of me that's interested in making watch videos. For years, we've been trying to get that part of me removed. No luck so far. So to make this watch more anti-magnetic, there's extra non-ferrous metal around the movement which adds to the weight. And that kind of makes this feel and wear like a mechanical watch, which is kind of cool on my 7-inch wrist. I suspect that when a lot of people see a photo of this watch, they probably think that it is a mechanical watch. But of course it's not. It's battery powered, and it uses a quartz crystal for time regulation, but not just any cheap-ass quartz crystal. Grand Seiko grows its own high-accuracy quartz crystals, and they have a much higher standard of accuracy. The crystals start large, and then they are formed into this tiny tuning fork-looking thingy that vibrates at a predictable rate when an electrical current runs through it. Most normal quartz watches are accurate to plus or minus 15 seconds per month. About a half second per day. Impressive. Most impressive. But Grand Seiko quartz watches are accurate to 10 seconds per year. 10 seconds per year. That makes them 18 times more accurate than most quartz watches. And way, way more accurate than nasty, greasy, antiquated mechanical watches. And this 9F61 movement is kind of pretty for a quartz watch. I'll show you, and some of you can clutch your pearls as I open this case back and expose this precious engine outside of a clean room that's buried 5 kilometers in the permafrost. Kinda cool, right? And you can even see the regulator in the bottom right corner of the movement, but this watch hasn't needed any regulation. As far as I can tell, which isn't very far, this is running at about plus 5 seconds per year. But the design of this watch is the real treat for me, although I think the high accuracy quartz aspect is really intriguing. Some of you may know that for many years, decades of Grand Seiko's history, this is how dials were branded, with Seiko at the top and Grand Seiko at the bottom. Removing Seiko from the dial is a pretty recent change. You can see this change in the watch that immediately followed this. It was basically the same watch but rebranded, the SBGX091. It's cool, but I think it's missing something by not having the red applied GS logo on the bottom half of the dial. It's just a little too plain for me. Now, what I love about this design is I don't even know where to begin. First, all the hands and markers are precisely finished and all polished. Super duper shiny, they're mirrors. The hours and minutes hand come to a nice point, and they're big slabs of metal with real bevels. That's as opposed to most watch hands in the world that are a thin piece of metal that's been bent or curved. Not these swords, these katanas. These hands look great to me. One thing about this dial that's nearly impossible to capture is its sheen. It has this effect when you move it in the light. It might not come across in this video. I gotta figure out how to record an HDR video. But what creates this effect is that the dial actually has a very, very fine guilloche texture. I'm not sure I'm allowed to use the word guilloche with a Japanese watch, but that's basically what it is. Machine finished, no doubt. A human hand couldn't do this, because human hands are imprecise and barbaric, and I, for one, welcome our computer overlords. And it's not just the dial that's full of interesting angles and finishing. I think the case is great. It's a very Grand Seiko case to me. Or maybe it's a very Japanese case to me. These lug angles are a great example of what I'm talking about. And not just the angles of the ends of the lugs, but how the lugs sweep along the case. And even the polished space between each of the lugs. It's all just very different from what I usually see at watches at this price. A little different and a little more interesting. And unfortunately, Grand Seiko doesn't make this case shape anymore. A few years ago, Grand Seiko created a new line of 9F quartz watches, sports watches, like these, and they're cool and they're very reminiscent of the watch I own, but I think the case lacks some of the refinement. And some of the color is missing, and of course they added a date at 3 o'clock. I'm usually okay with dates. I'm not good on dates, I'm terrible on dates, but usually I see the utility of a date window on a watch. But I much prefer how my watch looks without the date window, the symmetry of that. And so I wish Grand Seiko would bring back this design. They kind of tried to with these SBGV watches, and especially with the SBGX091, this anti-magnetic watch. And guess what? Grand Seiko discontinued all of these watches anyway. Why can't we have nice things that don't disappear? Why can't good things last? Why is everything impermanent? As Lord Buddha said in the Sutra on Impermanence, how can beings, afflicted as they are by impermanence, take delight in desirable impermanent things? And this is how I know Lord Buddha never had a killer watch collection. Dude would have known how delightful these desirable things are.